So welcome everybody to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. Today is Friday, July the 30th, 2021, and our call-in number is 563-999-3581, and press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us, and we'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart, and welcome everybody. Honored and delighted that you're here with us. Just had a good morning of gardening this morning and harvested some awesome tomatoes, potatoes, one strawberry. Anyway, we are into the very end of the month of July. Pretty amazing. It's gone by so quickly. And we're honored to get to engage in this conversation about first century Aramaic forgiveness. I heard from a couple of folks yesterday that listened to yesterday's show that they said really cemented although they'd heard it all before, cemented the whole process of how perception works and how this energy system operates in a new way for them. So if you missed yesterday's show, you might want to give it a quick listen. I think Jeannie's got it in the special archives, and it was Jeannie started out with some trigger thoughts that just got me rocking, and I think I went on for about 45 minutes, but we just kind of laid the whole foundation to work out again in a little different way than normal, and that process of building the brain cells and realizing and recognizing more and more that, if there's ever been something that maybe you saw once a long time ago and somebody presents it to you and you look at it, you go, oh, geez, I should know. I just don't know what that, I don't know. Well, when it gets to the subtlest, deepest concepts of healing, you've got the brain cells. And sometimes you go, I should know that. I just don't know. I just don't get it. And you can't structure a perceptual construct that you don't have the brain cells for. And so that's why some people can look at something and go, oh, that's ABC. Someone else looks at it and goes, I don't know, I just don't have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. So a big part of this process is engaging the tools until you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear what's truly going on from the perspective of the actuality of what's happening in the world, rather than from the point of view of our realities. So we're honored that you're here, and I'm going to jump right into the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? We are on chapter 15, I believe it is. Yeah, we're on 15, the chapter on transitions. And we're looking at the idea of transitioning out of the old hostility and fear-based mind and moving into literally the mind, the true mind, being based in love, and the function of the body that we call the mind being a reflection of love. In other words, transitioning out of the hostility and fear-based perceptual constructs into a place where we've removed all data based in hostility or fear, or we've removed the hostility and fear-based link to that data, so that everything in the mind is just data. And then the mind, or what we call the mind, it really isn't a mind. It's just a function of the storage of information in the so-called body and the firing of brain cells. And when that's corrected, then you're now at the point where you can create a place for what we call enlightened perception. The first stage in that is to move from distorted or projected perception into accurate perception, then to enlightened perception, which means that in your perceptual system, information about actuality accurately shows up rather than just being another reality. So we're talking to Richard about transitioning.
Michael.
Yes, please.
It may be the same chapter, but yesterday you said you were on the chapter on abuse and victimhood.
Oh, pardon me. That's right. We're on 15, abuse and victimhood. I'm still thinking about the previous chapter, but yeah, we did transitions before this. You're right. I'm on page 94. It is abuse or healing abuse and victimhood. You're right, and it's kind of transitioning. So, thank you for getting me back on track. So the thought we finished with yesterday was a key thought. It says when you choose to be aware of behavior patterns that don't serve you, you're in a position to change them. That's empowerment. And we pointed out the fact that empowerment comes from within. It doesn't come from without. You can get support from without, but the empowerment is always yours. It always has been yours. It always will be yours. If you tie your power up in hostility and fear and blame and guilt and trauma, you'll still have the same amount of power, but it'll seem like you're powerless because all of your power is tied up in insanity. Once you forgive and collapse the hostility and fear-based mind, then, it's kind of like country music when you play it backward. You get your car back, you get your girl back, you get your farm back, you get your truck back, and you get your dog back. Well, when you start to undo the hostility and fear-based mind, you get your power back. And that's what we're here to support you having. And the source of your power is not outside of you. It doesn't come from somebody else. It doesn't come from a teacher. It doesn't come from another person. It comes from within you. It's yours. It's always been yours. How you spend it's up to you. I offer Richard the thought here. It sounds like the only way you thought you could step into your power other than through victimhood was through hostility. That's exactly what I thought, Richard said. Without my anger, I was powerless, he confided. Hostility is one of the most addictive, damaging drugs there is. Every person who engages in it needs their fix to keep their pain suppressed. So let's recognize that all forms of anger or hostility are simply a drug. They're not an emotion. People talk about, the emotion I felt was anger. No, there's no such thing as an emotion called anger. There is a drug called anger that anesthetizes pain. Whenever we can get somebody for just a moment, somebody who's raging and rocking in their rage, to drop that for 1 second, the next thing will seem to. And I'm talking about, I've stood in a prison with, guys that could wipe me out in half a second. And in the middle of their rage, walked over, put my arms around them, and extended love. And the next thing this giant of a raging man is doing is in tears like a 3-year-old boy, because all of a sudden he's in touch with the memory of the pain of the 3-year-old that turned him into a monster in the first place. The power person dynamic that he's still playing out and is still running his life. He thinks he's big and tough and powerful, but he's actually being run by daddy or mommy from when he was a 3-year-old. And of course, daddy or mommy, when he was a 3-year-old, was run by grandpa and great-grandpa and great-great-great-great-great. It's just been going on for so many generations. We need to get out of the desert. We need to get out of this unconscious condition. Those who use this drug encourage others to do the same because they themselves have not faced what they have suppressed with their own anger. And I say suppressed, but it's actually more anesthetized. Often, the rationalization that we have a right to our anger is used to justify holding on to this form of self-abuse. We must be willing to deal with what we've hidden from ourselves and stop using that drug if healing is going to occur. Richard says, what are you talking about? Do drugs suppress pain? He nodded. You look at someone who's extremely hostile, and you will always find deep emotional pain. Hostility sets up body chemistry that suppresses pain. Using hostility is like using any other drug. If one stops using their addictive substance, in this case, the internal chemistry produced by hostility, they will withdraw when the pain the drug has suppressed surfaces. That's the point at which the craving gets so strong, many return to their supplier for another fix. So instead of that, we're going to invite you to recognize that you could be engaging forgiveness instead. And as you engage forgiveness, you remove the root of your pain. Remember that forgiveness is removal. Forgiveness isn't about, I'm going to let you off the hook for what's happening inside of me. Forgiveness is about undoing the drugs or breaking away from the drugs we've been using so that we can look inside and be honest with what's going on. I'm just making a note here on add to the book. So when we let go of the need for an anesthetic, all of a sudden, life tends to look like, you start doing your work, and life tends to look like it's turning to crap. And you know why? Because you're allowing yourself to see the crap you've been hiding from yourself. And how, you might remember that song, the old song. How long has this been going on? Guess what? 1,000 generations in every one of our bloodlines. And it's just time for us to wake up. It's time for us to realize, that is, to make real who we are, to move into functioning as love, as human beings, and to open the space for not only the healing of ourselves, but the healing of every mind, heart, and being on the planet. So we have a small project here. The market is limited for this work. There are only about 7.5 billion minds that need it. And we're going to do our best to do everything we can to make it available. The archives of these radio shows are the one of the ways we're doing that. And the conversation with people who have the courage to step in and step up and to look at what they're doing to themselves, to face perhaps 1,000 generations of unresolved trauma and pain. It is not a Dr. Feelgood process, but on the other side of it, wow, what a delight. So, Miss Jeannie, do you have anything to share today?
No, I'm just
after
slowing
being
down,
out in the garden
breathing.
and running and playing in the hose as I sprayed you.
It was hot. I can't believe that 4 hours went by that fast. But
yeah, it was pretty quick. It was fun.
Yeah.
We got some good stuff done. One of the things we did is there's a product called biochar, and it's kind of like I saw an interesting analogy on it. If you think about a golf ball, the golf ball's got all these dimples in it. But if you want it to hold water, or you want that golf ball to hold nutrients, microbes that are good for the soil, you're not going to get very far. But if you think about a wiffle ball, you cut it in half and you put another wiffle ball inside it, you cut that in half, you put another. You got all these chambers, and it holds water and holds microorganisms and is just powerfully restorative to the soil. And way back, we were using biochar, I think it was probably 27 or 28 years ago when Peter Strino and his wife Tanya were at Heartland, and their research, or our research, would lead us to this product. It was basically a charcoal type product, and so we brought a couple of bags of it back from Heartland. We'd actually bought a bunch of it a couple of summers ago, and so we're mixing up and putting it into the garden. So that was part of our garden effort today, and enhancing the soil and staking up the tomatoes, picking the potatoes. So any other thoughts for you, sweetie?
No, I don't have any thought. And we've got several people on the switchboard, some we haven't heard from in a while. So somebody press 1. Let's talk.
Let's say hello. How can we support you? What's on your mind? How, if we haven't heard your voice in a while, if you haven't been on the show, what's happening in your world? Share with us. Connect with us. Let us know what's happening. How is your process going? Are you moving it through the family system? Talk to us. Tell us what's happening. Beyond that, if you're on one of those stations where we can't see you, our calling number is 563-999-3581. And if you have a thought for us, you have a question, if you need some support, then please dial that number. You'll be listening to the show on your phone. And then if you push 1, that will raise a hand in the control panel. And Jeannie will introduce you by your area code, and we'll be having a conversation. And it really is the questions that are most important.
We have a hand up.
Great. Let's say hello.
417, you're on the air. Is this Judy?
Yes, it is. Good afternoon.
Well, hey, welcome, young lady. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I have a question. When you were talking about the hostility and the anger and the drug, that it being a drug and everything, how does prejudice fit in there?
Well, I think that prejudice would be a thought based in fear that, something or someone else is the cause of your pain and suffering. That would be my definition off the top of my head for prejudice. So it would be and oftentimes prejudice is backed by anger because it's based in some form of pain or perceived pain. And that perceived pain has been projected into, some person, place, thing, or event. You be prejudiced against an animal or a person or what have you. And or it can be based in guilt for perceived harm done to others, and then the denial of that perceived harm leads one to project it into their brain's image of the person they're prejudiced against. So they'll take all of their fear, their hostility, their pain, put it into their brain's image of that other person, their guilt, what have you, and it's just an invitation to go, oh, okay, so here's another piece of work to do. That would be my take. What was that little laugh about there, young lady?
Oh, it's a lot of work to do. Yeah, there's a lot of work around that. Okay, well, that's what I wanted. I wanted to kind of
It's a big issue on the planet. Yeah, it's a huge issue on the planet, and especially with all the racist, the prejudice in the area of race that's going on today. We see this white supremacist uprising that foments, as it always has. It lives on a lie and perpetrates its lie into every arena you can go, and then follows the lie is all the hostility that's beneath the pain that's not resolved, and getting people to open to that pain. I remember there was an interesting video. The fellow who did the movie, what was the name of it? It was about McDonald's, and he heard about a court case. Somebody sued McDonald's for some disease they had going on, saying that McDonald's had poor nutrition. The food was poor nutrition. And so McDonald's defense was, no, our food is balanced and nutritious and blah, blah, blah. So he decided to go on a McDonald's fast. He set himself up. He was actually a vegetarian. And he decided he was going to test out whether it was healthy food or not. And so he set up a 30-day plan where he ate nothing but McDonald's. And every time he went into a drive-in and he ordered something, if they said, would you like it to be supersized, he had to supersize it, and he had to eat it. They were kind of the rules that he went by. He was very healthy, trim young man, very healthy. He was in his early 30s. He had, if I remember correctly, there were 3 doctors. Gee, maybe you're remembering the name of the film I'm talking about. But he had 3 doctors who checked him out, perfect specimen, great health. Along about day 22 or 23, one of the doctors quit. He said, if you eat that food for another day, you are in danger of having a heart attack. Here's the emergency number at the hospital. Stop. And I quit. I'm not going to be responsible for this. They said that his liver was turning to paste. It was just unreal. In any event, he had a television show for a while. He may still have it. I don't know. I'm not remembering his name. In any event, he went down to the border, and there was a self-proclaimed border protection agent, not somebody that worked for the government, but a guy that was just an individual who hated Mexicans, and he decided he was going to guard the border. He lived near the border, and he was going to guard it. And so the fellow who did this, Sperling, his name's Sperling, invited this guy to be on his show, and the agreement was that he would interact with this Mexican family. And he ended up spending time with this family. He saw the trauma and pain that they were in. He went back with the man to his village in Mexico and saw the disastrous conditions he was living in, ended up becoming a supporter of people trying to make a better life for themselves. And you know, when we get exposed to the truth, it's pretty powerful. And of course, every form of prejudice, everything that contains hostility and fear is a lie. It's, you know, the indicator that the mind is lying as it generates a particular perceptual construct about any object of attention, whether it's self or someone else. You know, people can be prejudiced and down on themselves. Oh, I'm so stupid. I'm so inadequate. I'll never make it. I'll never be any good. There'll never be anything for me. And, you know, that's just a prejudice against self. And it's all a lie. And so the beauty is that when people start to confront the lie, when they start to tell themselves the truth, when they look at the underlying dynamic and work through the hostility and fear, the lies disappear. And all of a sudden, we start functioning as human beings. And what is a human being? You know, remember the first time you held your first newborn baby and you tapped into that presence of love?
That's
and when you,
when
you are restored to that, when you realize that is not only your baby's essence, but it's your essence too, then the work is about the restoration to that essence. And of course, all we have to do is work through everything based in hostility or fear that's not been dealt with in our bloodline to do that. It's a pretty significant challenge, but you know, it's a fun. Can be. Pardon me. It isn't the process that's traumatic, but going through the process, we can touch into many dissociated traumas. But on the other side of it, it's so much fun when you start seeing what happens to people's lives. You start seeing the light in their eyes and the liberty from the insanity. It's just pretty awesome. So do you have a particular issue that around the idea of prejudice that you need some support with?
You're gonna, well, I don't know how you're gonna react to this, but it's, I was a little shocked. I moved into these apartments, and so I can shut down my storage unit, which is close by.
Right.
And I've been here, you know, like it was right after Christmas I moved here. So we've all been in our apartments most of the time. And I have this lady who lives across the parking lot from me, and she sits out there on her stoop every day and smokes her cigarettes. And she's got a guy friend that comes and visits with her every now and then. And her and two of the other girls here, they have this car that the one lady owns it, but these other two girls and her use it. If they need the car, they'll go get it and drive it where they need to go, you know, and they'll go shopping together and everything. So a couple of the guys here, one of them has got a heart he's going to have transplanted, and the other one is he's in a wheelchair, no arms or legs. And one day I was walking to the mailbox one evening, and he's knocking on the door of the neighbors across the street, calling her name, and she doesn't answer the door. He's out there banging on that door, the one in the wheelchair, trying to get her to come to the door. And so when I walk back by, he's still there working on it, and I say, "Is there anything I can help you with?" And he says, "I want her to come over and fix me some dinner." And I said, "Well, I've got dinner. I've got enough for two. Would you like some?" And so I took him over some baked fish and some vegetables to go with it. And I told him, I says, "Now, I do cook enough for two almost every day. If you need any extra, just let me know." And then the other guy, when I talked to him, he was telling me about his troubles. I thought, well, when our missionaries come over, I'll ask them if they want a blessing, and they'll help them along the way for the elders to come and pray for them, give them a blessing. So sure enough, both of them took the blessing, but the little girl across the street, somehow or the other, she took offense to that, and which was none of her business anyway. And I heard her hollering out with her girlfriends over there on the stoop, 2 doors down. She's a GD Mormon. I was a little bit shocked, and I thought, I didn't know there was still a lot of prejudice going on around here, And that's actually the first time I'd ever really faced any prejudice or anything about my religion. I know they've had a lot of prejudice in the past, but they're out there doing so much good in the world, and they're good people. I'm one of them, and I only intended to do good. I didn't intend to offend anyone. I wanted to just help these guys a little bit further along the way. And so I've been working on that, but when you started talking about the hostility and the anger being a drug, I wondered, how did prejudice fit in there? Is it, because there's hostility there. There was anger. But what is prejudice? Is it just is it a noun or is it a verb?
It's a thought disorder.
A thought disorder.
It's just a thought disorder where somebody's hooked up their hostility or fear to their brain's image of someone else. Yeah. And generally speaking, the anesthetic that people use is hostility. So usually there will be hostility involved. And again, oftentimes guilt, because it's just a part of a person that knows that they're playing out a lie and that their viciousness is not deserved. And so,
I agree with that. You can't deny the truth within yourself. You may deny it out there, but within yourself, you cannot get away from the truth. And there is guilt that goes with that. I'm sure of it.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I'm working on. And
so the most powerful gift you can give is, each time you sit out there and that lady or those ladies are out doing their thing, just do a love exchange with them. Do a love exchange. Okay. I remember back several years ago, we were in Hawaii, and there was a couple who hosted us in on the big, or not on the Big Island, but on Oahu. And I remember sitting out in the on the deck with these folks, and he had been a top level businessman, and his assessment of the world, we're sitting out on his deck having this conversation, is the world is going to hell in a handbasket, so I moved to Hawaii to get out of the fray and just let it go, just watch it go down the tubes, and I'm just going to stay over here and enjoy my life. And he was kind of in a little bit of a cynical place with, I'm going to keep doing the work of forgiveness and spreading it around the planet. And he came to the whole series of workshops that we did the week we were there, and did the still point breathing process. This is about 10 or 12 years ago. I still talk with him 2 or 3 times a month, or maybe twice a month. And he, as a result of the work that he did, he decided to move back to the mainland. He now lives in Seattle area. And a while back we were talking, and this world that he had decided he was just going to let it go to hell, and sat in his fear and his hostility in Hawaii. He said one of his favorite things to do now, and he lives in a mixed neighborhood that in the past would have been kind of a challenge for him, but he bought a house, and he said, I sit on my front deck and I watch people go up and down the street. He said, I just hold them in love. I just love exchange with them. And he said, it's changed my life so dramatically. I don't know what it's doing for their lives, but he said, that's now kind of like my job. That's what he does. So, he's come back to the world, and he's he's living in a space, and he's getting a little elderly. He's got some health challenges, but that's what he kind of sees as his job now, rather than, oh, to hell with the world, I'm getting out. So, it can be a simple gift, but, the energy exchange that can happen there and the healing that can happen, it's just beyond amazing.
I love that story.
The thought that when we started the Lessons in Living program in the Unity School, kindergarten to grade 8, back, though this is 37 or 38 years ago, the first lesson that we offered to the kids in this school was, when I choose love, it wakes up the love in everyone. I don't know how many tens of thousands of people that we've given that message to over the last 37 or 38 years. But more and more I'm seeing people that are going, yeah, that's what I'm doing. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know. First time I was at Heartland, I stayed down there in, I think it was Love, down the hill towards Julie.
Right.
And had a tent. That was the first place I stayed, I think. And I really got to connect with what love was from inside of me. And I hadn't had that before. And that was back in the 90s. And
right.
And so after I went home from the intensive, I guess that was that was the early 90s. And then in around 2000, just before 2000, my grandkids came to live with me because Mom was into drugs. And that house was just so full of love with the kids there, and so we just at night, in the evenings, when the sun was going down and everything's quieting down for the evening, and the kids was cleaning up the kitchen after dinner, and we're there was just an aura in the house. You could feel it, you could see it. And I thought to myself, we lived up on a hill, and it was an 80 some odd acre farm, and then the road went along down the bottom. And I just, my home was just so full of love. I prayed to Heavenly Father that He would let this love travel and fill the space here, all the way down to the road. And if anybody was passing by, which is rarely, and they needed extra love, that they would feel that, and that they would feel comforted. And
sweet.
It was about a week later. I was in town, which is about 15 miles south of there, getting gas. And this fellow was getting gas there where I pulled up to get gas, and he said, Miss Phelan, he said, I used to live down the road and around the corner from you. I'm the guy that had 4 or 5 kids there, and he had 4 or 5 kids. I can't remember how many. And he said, my wife and I got divorced, and he says, I am so lonesome for them. And they had been divorced for, I guess, 5 years. He said, I drove down the road the other day just to feel, going past, and I went past your house on the way to my house. And he said, I could feel the love all the way down to the road. And he
you
said,
never know who you're going to
impact.
impact.
He said, I want to thank you for that. And
you never know whose life you're going to change.
I know the energy that we participate in and that we nourish in our homes, that it is a real thing, and people around us get it too, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. So anyway,
well, when you recognize the physics of it, there is nothing on the so-called physical plane that interferes with the movement of the frequency of love. Let's say, here I am in a room, and I've got a light on, and the light goes to all 4 corners of the room, but it doesn't penetrate the wall because the wall absorbs the light. On the other side, there's no light coming through the wall. It inhibits its movement. And, if I had glass walls, the light would penetrate the glass. So, when you realize from a physics point of view, there are certain frequencies that penetrate anything and everything. I'm in a room that's closed up, yet I can use my cell phone. Obviously, the cell phone signal penetrates the walls where the light doesn't. And, of course, the radio signal has a certain limit as to how far it's going to go, because there are things in the material world that interfere with, certain metals and things like that interfere with the transmission of that signal. But when it comes to the presence of love, it is of such a high frequency that there's nothing that can block it. And, that to me, the physicist Yeshua, when he said a little leavening leavens the whole loaf, recognized he was not talking about bread. He was talking about those who choose to incarnate as love, to bring active present love into their world and to extend it to others, even if others seem to not deserve it. What did they say? What did Yeshua say about it? He says, my Father, he causes the rain to fall on the just and the unjust. There's no inhibition in it. There's no, you're not a good guy, we're not going to give you rain on your garden, we're going to save it for the guy next door. It's just, and when we recognize that, as we intensify that experience and allow it to, and actually consciously, purposely direct it to places where it's needed, it gets received and it makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
It'll soften the hardest heart.
I was watching on YouTube the other day the scientist that has he's found the signature on the DNA of the Creator, and it's the message is, and it's in I believe Hebrew and Aramaic, and they're using the symbols of chemistry to find this,
right.
And it's basically God within. That's His signature on our creation, on our DNA.
Send me a link to that video. Text me a link. I'd love to see it.
I probably won't see it again. It does. A lot of these things come up and then they're gone. If it comes up again, I will.
If you go to your YouTube channel, when you're watching YouTube, there's a little 3 bars up in the corner. If you hit that, there's a thing of history. You can go back and it'll show you all the videos you've ever watched.
Okay, well, it's just the other day.
So it'll be in your list. If you find it, send it to me. I'd love to see it.
Definitely. And
cool.
There's one on fasting, too, that says that if you can fast for 38 days, it allows the body to heal from cancer because the cancer dies off.
Major reset.
Yeah, I'll send that one, too.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
All right, young lady.
Appreciate it, y'all.
Okay.
Okay.
Delight to touch
Bye-bye.
in. Thanks for all your support all these years. It's,
My
30 plus years we've been hanging out at Heartland together. So thank you for the support that you've been over those years, young lady.
My pleasure, and I'm very grateful for all that you have provided to help the healing in my life, too.
Honored and delighted.
And
I wish things were at a state where we could open a space for you at this point with the whole COVID thing. I don't know how we're going to move forward next, but we're working on it.
Well, I think the Lord has plans for me, so I'm not really worried about that. So all things are in divine order, so we just go with it.
All right. Take care. Lots of love.
Bye-bye.
All right. Sweet. Gratitude for having the opportunity to touch people's lives with this work. It's And it's interesting that in the healing process we oftentimes come across all kinds of unresolved hostilities or fears. And of course, how can I tell if the hostility or fear I'm feeling is mine or not? It's a really, really difficult question to answer. Is am I feeling it? If I am, then I know it's mine. And of course, I can always arrange my perception so I put it into my brain's perception of someone else, and I think I'm feeling it because of something they did. And as the space opens, you get to go to the next level of awareness and function as a true human being, as this presence of love that we are each designed to incarnate. So, delighted to be here, support, honored, gratitude. Gratitude for the thousands of people we've interacted with over the years and the foundation we've created for this work to move throughout the globe. And so, Ms. Jeannie, do we have anybody else in the phone queue or anything happening in the chat room?
No, it is quiet on both fronts. And the name of that movie was Super Size Me.
Super Size Me, that's it. Yeah, Spurlock. Sterling Spurlock, I think his name was, maybe. Anyway, he did an interesting TV show, and this one was really quite interesting, how this guy was going to protect the border against these invaders and, turn to a man of compassion and caring. And it's like, oh, this is my brother. This is my sister. Who is my brother? Who is my sister?
It's Morgan Spurlock.
Morgan Spurlock, okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that was an interesting movie, Super Size Me. But his TV show, he did some really good stuff. And he may still be doing it. I don't know. Check him out. So if you're out there in listener land, we've got about 18 minutes left. So there's lots of time for conversation. What kind of a conversation can we have with you? What have you got to share with us? How can we support you? Are you using the forgiveness tools? If you go to our website, whyagain.org, you'll find in the upper left-hand corner of the page, and by the way, the website has been totally redone. It's totally new. Awesome work, Jeannie. Awesome work, Susan, on the rewrite. Totally redone. It's beautiful. Things are more easily accessed. They're organized in a way that's really quite searchable and user-friendly. So check out the website. But in the upper left-hand corner, there's still a link there that says Start Here. And if you click that link, it'll open into a whole series of links on exactly how forgiveness works. And you can do the worksheet process. We've got a step-by-step worksheet process. You can do it right there on the site. You can print the worksheets off from the site, so you're doing them in your own home. You can go to your app store on your phone and type in the words Heartland, Heartland, all one word, Aramaic, Aramaic, forgiveness. And if you type in those words, you'll be looking at the world's only forgiveness app, created by Miss Jeannie. A genius piece of work. It's really awesome. And so you can engage in the actual forgiveness process right there on your phone. And so as you engage, questions obviously arise. And so we're here to answer those questions and give as much support as we can. So if you're out there in listener land, how can we support you? Push one. Let's have a conversation.
One of the conversations that was going on I just got a text from Celinda. She's on there. Hold on a second. One of the conversations, though, with Dr. Tim at the beginning, Celinda, all you have to do is press 1 on your phone. Okay, so I'll get her in just a second. But cool. The conversation was of being in the moment, and it was I didn't catch the whole thing because we were late getting back in here, but one of the things, I do a program called Noom, Noom, and one of the lessons this morning was on being involved in being in the moment, and that we let future fears run us, and that we can counter that with a positive present, and that we can set intentions about what, we're planning for the day or whatever. And so it was a lot like our work, talking about setting intentions and setting goals. But
cool.
One of the things that I set this morning was to be consciously aware and be grounded as I was pulling weeds. And so we can set intentions and stay in the moment even in little things, little everyday things like that. It doesn't have to be like a major life issue that we can be in the moment in. And so let's go to Celinda. It's area code 541. You're on the air.
Well,
how are you?
We haven't heard this young lady's voice in a while. Welcome.
Was that a clue when I couldn't remember what to press?
So how are you? What's happening in your world? How does your garden grow? That's what we've been working on this morning.
Well, that's where I am. And so I had to laugh and smile when Jeannie just mentioned about being in the present moment while she was reading. And so I have missed you, and it's all good because I'm getting clarification on what our sacred breath wants me to do in order to activate my Christ consciousness. And so I've been in the hermitage, so to speak, and it's beautiful. And the little voice inside of me says, be still, and
Sweet.
know. So that's what I'm doing. I'm being still and knowing as it comes to me. When I wake up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep, I just say, hello, Yeshua. I'm coming home to be with you for a few minutes. So I just wanted to check in, and I just really enjoyed what the lady said before. It was all timely and perfect for this moment for me. And I hope if you can see those links, you can post them for us.
Cool. And if you probably heard your notification ding that you'd gotten a text, because I just sent you a text of our harvest this morning, and lined along the hand railing of beside our peace pole are our tomatoes. Oh. You can see one of them there is about, got to be 2 pounds. And then you'll see there's one strawberry there, and one cucumber, one squash, and a bunch of potatoes. So that's our lineup by the peace pole.
So were you able to plant some of those little tomatoes I sent for Aria Rain?
Yes, we've got a bunch of stuff in, and Aria is just loving. I mean, if you remember last year, as small as she was, she'd go out to the garden and grab a tomato and just chow down on it. Well, she's still doing the same. Cool. She just is loving it. So
now she has her own little plants with her own Aria Rain-sized tomatoes. How sweet!
Yeah, she's amazing.
And Grandma and Grandpa are go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I said Grandma and Grandpa are chowing down on the big ones.
Yes, we are, and we're just delighting. You know, she's coming up on her 3rd birthday, so her 3rd year of circling the sun, and she has become a very astute student of anatomy and physiology, which has just been so much fun to do with her. We back a few weeks ago, she swallowed a button. So we talked, about where, we're checking her bowel movements to see if we can find the button. We concluded that she probably didn't, but her mom and dad thought she had. So anyway, we had a conversation about, how it goes down her throat and then down into her tummy, and that her stomach is there and her intestines and all. Well, I just happen to have a set of anatomy and physiology cards, like, study cards that I had in my office. So I went and got them, and we showed them to her. Well, that was about, I guess we're getting on close to 3 weeks ago, minus the 10 days we were on the road. We didn't see her, but we've had her now probably, 12 or 14 days, 13 days, something like that since that started. And she now spends anywhere from an hour to 2.5 hours a day when she's here with those cards and watching videos on anatomy. And she can tell you where the liver is and where the pancreas is and where the heart is and what the heart does and the stomach and the small intestine and the large intestine. And she can tell you about how the pooper works. So it's just been It's been hilarious, and we've ordered a couple of extra sets of cards. So her dad now, her dad was originally, he was wanting to become a vet, so he did pre-med, but then decided he didn't want to spend any more time in school. But she's now getting him back into anatomy and physiology because she's, Dad, we need to work on these cards. So she calls, at home. It's like, let's get the cards out, Dad. And she'll literally sit for 45 minutes and watch like college level presentations on anatomy and physiology. She'll just sit, and watch them, and she's totally engrossed. I mean, it's just so cool to watch. That's her new thing.
Oh, how sweet is that?
It's just,
so
it's so much fun. And
go ahead.
Well, I just, when we got involved in the Avison, because when I went to med school, microcirculation wasn't much of a conversation. It wasn't understood very well, and really there wasn't much you could do about it, so it wasn't a big part of the conversation. But so I've kind of gone back to medical school. I actually went out and bought myself a course on anatomy and physiology online to get into a deeper study and understanding of that. And so now we're just kind of playing with this anatomy and physiology stuff, and she's just loving it. So it's pretty cool.
Just falling deeper into the mystery, eh?
Yes. Yeah.
Michael, that's an interesting thought, because what I'm realizing, if we don't know ourselves, including how our body works, how can we be responsible? How can we be responsible for our immune system, which was created perfectly, and which we have been given, management, husbandry over, and everything. Right. I mean, it's just from square one all the way up. We'll never understand. It just boggles me.
Well, it's an amazing opportunity, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I have made an intention, and I hope that intention will sustain me and my community, is that no matter what the differences in our perceptions are, in our conclusions are for the present moment, that I am unwilling to let any issue, either mine or somebody else's, separate me from love and from being
you're wanting to separate from love?
No, I'm not going. I am going to. The love exchange you mentioned today is beautiful, and what the lady who called in before said about sending out that energy was just so timely, because I am facing people with totally different perspectives than my own, and you know what happens in a family when people have different opinions and want to be right, and I'm just giving up being right.
All right, there you go.
My job is love. Now, that's the intention. I set my rudder according to my little compass of my little ship, and I'm pointing towards the North Star, and I still have to practice. I got to keep that rudder on line.
That's the work. That's the work, and everything that goes against it is going to surface. And how profound is it to know that, here's my next healing opportunity, rather than I need to fall into this hostility and fear-based stuff. So, nice work, young lady.
That's what's happening as I am letting go of my people-pleasing and trusting more of being honest. All my hostilities are coming up that I buried before, Michael and Jeannie. And I'm going, there it is again, and I thought I wasn't hostile. Okay, offer it up, surrender it.
Nice. Well, delighted that we've had that impact and are supporting you in that level of understanding and work. That's what it's all about. And from our end, it doesn't get better than hearing that.
Yes, and thank you. You're definitely I'm definitely making you my family. I hope you don't mind.
We're on it. We're joining in it for sure.
And blessings to both of you and little Aria.
All right. Okay, lots of love, and tell Larry we said hello.
All right, I will. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye now.
Blessings. Take care. Bye-bye. All right, Miss Jeannie. Well, we've got about 5 minutes left.
Well, counting the outro,
time.
we've only got about 3.
3. Gee, a 3-minute conversation. Well, probably there isn't much room for more conversation. So I'll just take a minute and we'll talk about the fact that we have a new self-study online intensive package. There are 90 hours of video in it that we suggest someone utilize over a period of 14 weeks. And codependence to interdependence communication practicum. So included in this 90-hour package is a workshop, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? On first century Aramaic forgiveness, healing through relationships, recognizing that our relationships, the workshop used to be called Healing Your Relationships, and then I realized there's no such thing as a diseased relationship. Every relationship perfectly reflects to us what we need to heal. And so healing through relationships, communication, did you hear what I think I said? And codependence to interdependence. So it was originally set up as a 14-week study program. There are a total of 90 hours in the program, and included along with the 90 hours of study. And once you buy that intensive, it's yours permanently. It's a streaming service for all of the video work. You can go back and watch it as often as you need to, review it, and there's so much depth that you can review it 100 times and it'll have another level of meaning. Actually, it's a combination of 2 intensives, and people who were in the first intensive were invited as guests to go through the second one, and several people were like, oh, man, I thought I heard that the first time around, and I realized it's like I wasn't even there the first intensive, and now, I understand it. And, of course, the third time you listen, there'll be another level, and the fourth and the fifth and the 10th. There'll be level upon layer and layer upon level. So also included in that package, when people come to Heartland, we do a total fresh and raw food program. Nothing is cooked. And the food is awesome. And Urate, who was at Heartland, came to a couple of intensives, and as a raw food chef, created a private Facebook page with videos and audios and questions and answers and recipes, 14 weeks, 3 meals a day of fresh and raw food. And the equipment, she describes and goes into the equipment that's needed to do the food program if you want to do it at whatever level. There's no requirement to do it. But if you want to introduce a different type of food into your dietary regimen, this is a powerful way to do it. She's got, what you need to order, weekly menus and weekly, ordering and where to order the best, what equipment you need, all of that. So that's all included in the package. And the full package for all 90 hours is $600. And so you have permanent access. And then if you decide to get that package, and in the future we do another online codependence to independence communication practicum, you can simply pay the difference between the $600 package to actually be into the next intensive live, and that next intensive will include another 2 hours of live question and answers. And once you've done that, anytime we do that intensive in the future, you'll be a guest in it free. So if you're interested in taking your work to the next level, this is the first time we've had this kind of an intensive package. You can go to our website or drop Jeannie an email, JEANIE at WHYagain.org, JEANIE at YAgain.org. In the meantime, create the best year yet of your eternal life. It's a powerful gift to give the world. Blessings.